Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to part one of this week's Finance SEQFC Preview Show with thanks to Vilic Law. And this week it's the Southwest Queensland show that heads off this week's proceedings. Now, we've got two new guests with us tonight. We've got Gerard Alchin, who's the president at Willowburn. Good evening, Gerard.
G'day, Darren. How are you, mate?
Very good. We missed you last week, but it's to have you on board this week.
Yeah, my bad on that one, mate. I apologise.
No worries at all. No worries at all. All right, we've got another newbie with us tonight. We've got Ramiz Hadzic, who is the coach of Rockville Rovers. Ramiz, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Darren. How are you, mate?
Very well. Now, you've been telling me just before we went to air that you've been involved in the game for about 20 years. And how long have you been coaching at the Rockville team for?
At Rockville the last 5 years.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your team. Are you mid-table? Are you always challenging for the top?
We've been probably, when I first came in, we actually started in the third division. So we've slowly been building up. And, the last few years we've been in the Premier Division. Sort of always fighting for that top four spot.
It's always that blasted Willowburn.
Yeah, as it was again on the weekend.
We'll come to that a bit later. All right. Now, we've also got Chris Hammersley, who's going to join us sometime during the show. So we might see another box appear at some point, and we'll quickly flip over to talk about the Thunder whilst he's there. But Gerard, whilst you're here, let's kick off with the Capital League 3, the Vilic Law Capital League 3, and Willowburn travelled to Jimboomba on the weekend. Did you go down the hill with the team?
Mate, I haven't done a road trip yet, but the boys are encouraging me to get on the bus at some stage. So hopefully by season's end, I'll get on there and be part of their infamous karaoke sessions on the way home.
Oh, hey! Now, I spoke to you at the beginning of the season and we talked all about your expectations. Has reality matched the conversation that we had at the beginning of the season?
No, probably not, to be honest. I think, particularly our first team has probably had to adjust slightly with how we play football. We've come up against some fairly physical sides down in that competition, and that's caused us to change our style of football. And Mark Robinson, our premier coach, has adapted well. The first couple of games were a little bit, touch and go, but then we sort of hit our stride a little bit. And I think probably our best result was when we came up against Narangba and we got a 3-3 draw there. So I guess that was a good acid test for us as to where we sit. They were flying pretty high at that stage. And we got a late one, I think, in the 86th minute. So that was pleasing to see that we can match it with the top of the table. Got a draw on the weekend against Jimboomba, which was probably not what they wanted. They really needed probably 3 points there to really push for a top 2 spot. They're only taking one this year in promotion, so the rank bar's sitting pretty high there. We do have a game in hand. We've had a washed out game, so anything can happen, as we know, but I think we just got to keep turning up. We seem to play probably sometimes better away. I think a lot of teams really enjoy the road trip up the mountain, and they really come well prepared for those sort of games. And we seem to sort of perform better away from home, which is a little bit odd. So, but we're fully enjoying the experience. The lads are loving it. Our reserve guys are going pretty well at the moment. They've lost only 2 games, so they're travelling really, really well. And as a club as a whole, we're really enjoying the whole thing.
So if you're missing the away games, of course, you're obviously there to host the when the visiting teams come up the hill. What's the reaction been like? Has the team stayed on at the end of the game and been social, or are they quickly back on the bus and off they go?
Largely, it depends on the result of the game, I think. Most clubs have been, really well receiving of us, and a couple of the guys will stick around and have a chat. I think probably there is still that perception that all Toowoomba people drive tractors, and We all have pitchforks ready to go. So I think it's been good to probably break down a bit of that perception that Toowoomba's not so much a country town as people think. But yeah, we've I guess enjoyed meeting new people and making new friends along the way.
You mentioned the physical aspect of Capital League 3. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
That's not to say that the TFL isn't a physical league. It very much is, but I think just since we've been in the TFL for a number of years, you probably know the style of play of each club and how they play football. Going in green and not really knowing anything about our opposition, I wouldn't say it blindsided us, but probably just caught us a little unawares as to how other clubs play football. And a lot of our guys are still quite young, very talented, but still quite young in their footballing career. And so it's a good test for them to come up against perhaps more experienced players that have been around a little bit and a few harder heads. And, it's making sure that you pack your shin pads for those kind of games.
You're, of course, fifth on the ladder at the moment on 15 points, as you said, with a game in hand after 9 matches. Narangba are on 24, and they had a draw on the weekend against Springfield United, who are in second place, 3 points behind. But your draw against Jimboomba in third, I mean, that's 2 draws against top 3 teams. You're showing that you can mix it in this league.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at the start of the season, I think we had a conversation, and I think top 4 was probably where we were sort of wanting to land. That was sort of the goal. I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to get promoted, but I think for our first year, we certainly wanted to finish in that top 4. I watched that game with Narangba and Springfield, and I was filthy on Narangba because they got the goal quite late. Springfield were up 3-2, I think, and then Narangba got it on the 90th, I think. And so I was kind of hoping Springfield would come through and they would drop points, but unfortunately, they didn't. So, yeah, like I said, it's probably a bit of a stretch now to try and catch Narangba. But if we can finish in that top 4, I think that's a really great effort for our first year in the Brisbane League.
For sure. When's your Cats Up game going to be played?
Not sure yet. I think after this round they'll adjust the fixtures, but they haven't let us know when that washout round will be replayed.
All right. So let's take a look at this weekend. I'm just trying desperately to get the calendar up, and you're at home to Bethania.
Yeah. Don't know much about them, but so we'll see what they bring. No doubt they'll be competitive, as most clubs are in that division. So, but yeah, obviously we want that 3 points so that we can start to build some momentum. I think they split the comp after we've played each other once. And they take the top 6 and then they play each other once after that. So that's sort of obviously they're all must-win games if you're thinking promotion. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see Bethania. I think a lot of the lads, their challenge now will be to stay motivated. And I think that's probably in our reserves team, that's probably been the case as well, because obviously where your premier team goes, your reserve team goes. Where it's a little bit different setup with the Toowoomba Football League. And so I think the reserve guys have got to find that motivation to finish the season well. And as do the Prems. Even if, promotion isn't on the cards, I still think, to find that motivation and see the season out well.
Considering this is a physical league, have you been coping with injuries? The
boys had the ice bath out on Tuesday night. They had the wheelie bin full of ice bags. I think we picked up a few. A lot of the guys look after themselves pretty well, and they eat well, and they're pretty semi-professional when it comes to recovery and that kind of thing. And Mark's very big on that as well in terms of player. And so we have a few things in place in terms of our player agreements. Not playing midweek futsal, that kind of things to protect the body and keep them in good shape for the weekend.
Your match is Saturday at 5 o'clock at Commonwealth Oval. Is that your home ground?
That's our home ground, yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned before we went to air that you're sharing your ground now with baseball.
That's correct, yeah. So we share it with Summer Sport, baseball. And so that presents a few logistical issues, particularly around this season, around this point in the year where we have to sort of hand over the venue. And so logistically, we'll just have to sort of navigate the next 6 odd weeks as to when we can and can't play. Obviously, they have a safety fence that goes right across the pitch, which is not ideal when you're trying to play football. So, we'll just take each week as it comes, I think. And if we have to play at a neutral venue, then I guess we'll have to do that.
Right. Let's take a look now at the Toowoomba Football League. Ramiz, I'll bring you in here. Tell us about what happened on the weekend, mate.
We just couldn't get the job done. Willowburn, came out hungrier and, got us quite comfortably, really.
So it was a 4-0 loss.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. And, it's only 1-0 at half-time, though.
Yeah, it was. And I suppose we gave away a penalty in the second half, early in the second half. So from then on, we just sort of pushed forward trying to look for a goal and sort of left ourselves a little bit exposed at the back. But this time of the season, it was more the 3 points rather than the goal difference that we were looking to sort of keep.
Sure. The guys on the show last week were talking up St Albans a little bit, and they had a 3-2 win over Stanthorpe United.
Yeah.
What's your take on those two teams?
Well, it just really opens the competition. Like the ladder itself proves that. I mean, everyone pretty much down to 6th can still probably be minor premiers over the next few weeks. So, but yeah, in saying that, Stanthorpe have come into this league and are really sort of pushing everybody. They're not here to mess around, obviously. And St Albans have a good young squad sort of going. And I knew at the start of the season that the more games they played, that the harder they were going to be to sort of overcome. And we have a bye this week, but next week we have St Albans. So that'll be a decent challenge.
So with Stanthorpe United, it's 4 clubs that have come together to form a team and play in the competition because they dissolved their own league.
Yeah.
How you've played them? How many times so far?
Well, we've played them twice now. We've played them both games for the season, and could definitely see the difference. We played them straight after the sort of COVID break, and you could sort of see that the chemistry wasn't quite there, that it was a bit of mix and match and players sort of scrambling in positions. But the last time we played them, we got the win against them actually again for the second time of the year. But they were definitely much more sort of resilient and had a lot more chances as well.
Okay. The other match was West Wanderers and Gatton Redbacks having a 0-0 draw.
Yeah. And I think, Wanderers has probably surprised a few teams sort of later on in this season as well. They're sort of coming up. And like I said, that top 6 is still all chasing those 4 final spots. And, everyone's in it. I mean, we dropped, after the loss on the weekend, we dropped 4 spots just like that. So the teams below can definitely sense that there could be a chance.
All right. So taking a look at the ladder, Stanthorpe United is still on top on 24 points, but it's now on goal difference over St Albans also on 24. Willowburn just 1 point back on 23 with yourself and the Gatton Redbacks on 22. So 2 points between 5 teams. What a fantastic competition.
Yeah, I think it's so good. I think it's so good for the league and for the players also that have sort of come back into this league to see that almost any team they're playing for, that they're a shot this year. So I think it's good for the competition.
All right, let's take a look at this weekend's fixtures. And we've got Stanthorpe United against Gatton. How do you see that one going? We might just mix this up. Gerard, what's your take on that one?
I reckon Gatton probably kicking themselves that they didn't get 3 points against Wanderers. I saw the first half of that game, and I probably thought Wanderers were the better team in the first half, actually. And then I ducked across and saw the second half of Stanthorpe and St Albans, and that was a cracking second half. It was 1-0 at half time and ended up being 3-2. So very entertaining. I think Gatton will get Stanthorpe this weekend, probably 2-1.
Okay. Ramiz, I might throw this one back to you. Willowburn against West Wanderers.
Oh, the battle of the black and white, hey? No, I think Willows will prove probably a bit too difficult this weekend for Wanderers. We helped Willowburn with a bit of momentum last week, so I reckon they'll carry that forward, and I think they'll get the job done.
All right. The final match is UQFC, who had the bye last week against St Albans. I get the sense that you fancy St Albans in that one.
I think so. I think just with the run of form lately of St Albans and the dip in form from USQ, I think, St Albans might have the edge this time. St Albans did lose the first game they played each other, but it was fairly close. I watched that one.
Tell me a little bit about the USQ team. Are they all students, or is there a combination of ex-students or people that just live in the area near the club?
I think they've branched a little bit away from the whole student being at the university. They're more their own sort of entity now, just as a club in Toowoomba. Obviously, playing and training on campus, it would attract a lot of students who are interested. It's right in front of them. But it sort of has stepped away a little bit from that now. Okay.
Highfields and, of course, yourselves have the bye this weekend. What are you going to do with the team? Is it just a complete weekend away? Are you going to make them go and watch games? Is there a bonding session planned?
Oh, nothing yet. The guys are still pretty disappointed after last week's results, so probably just take it easy, to be honest, and watch a few games here and there. I'll probably make the most of the bye weekend and go away with the family, actually, because we don't have many of them through the season. So, just try to forget about last weekend and move on.
That's true. It's a crazy, crazy season.
Yeah.
All right. So let's turn now to the women's competition. I hope you guys have taken interest in that league as well. Very good. All right. So all teams had a bye last week. So first match is UQFC up against Rockville. How do you see that one going?
Once again, the ladies' competition is so close. It's obviously been split into two leagues, a Premier and a Championship competition. So those top six, sort of everyone's taking points off everyone, but it's not being biased, but I'd say Rockville will get up this weekend.
All right. I might throw the next one back at you, Gerard. So Willowburn taking on Highfields.
Yeah, there's a nice little rivalry sort of have been building over the last couple of years with Highfields and Willowburn. They did us in the President's Cup earlier this year in penalties. They're not too far off the pace, Highfields, and so we haven't. I don't think we've been convincing the last couple of weeks. We picked up a 1-0 win over Wanderers 2 weeks ago, and I think we had a 2-2 draw against South Toowoomba Hawks. So there's probably a little bit of a dip in momentum there with our ladies, and so I wouldn't be surprised if it did end up 1 point apiece on the weekend. Highfields, they've got a lot of young talent there and good players as well. We've probably been missing a couple of key personnel, and I'm not quite sure that they'll be back for this game either. So it could end up all square, I think.
Gerard, are you traditionally as strong in the women's as you are in the men's?
Yeah, we have been, mate. I think probably the last 3 or 4 years. I think Rockville obviously did us in the grand final last year in penalties, and the last couple of years prior to that, they've always made the grand final, haven't always won it, but they've always been strong. Our ladies team always had good quality coaches, which I think is a key to any successful team, obviously. I think there's always been that depth that we've had there. At some stage, the question has been asked to us, would we ever consider bringing a ladies team down to Brisbane? We're certainly not at that stage yet, but, in 2, 3, 4 years, if we had the numbers and we had the strength, we'd love to certainly consider it, yeah.
Okay. We've found that in the Brisbane competitions that with the success of the Matildas, there's been an explosion of interest in women's football, and a lot of clubs are now starting to expand and take on women's teams. Have you found that that's just not the case in Toowoomba because it's always been there?
I know probably 2 years ago, they were really trying to push all girls teams, particularly in the junior side. And they just couldn't get the numbers. They sort of wanted to build it from under sixes and add an age group every year. But they just couldn't seem to get the numbers, which was quite surprising because, I mean, I can only look at our club and we have quite high participation numbers in our juniors with girls. And I think, as you say, largely that's to do with your Sam Kerrs and the, I guess, the exposure that the Matildas have at a national level. We also have a number of the Southwest Queensland Thunder girls. They run holiday camps for all girls, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Abby Lloyd and Mel Lloyd, these girls who have been around the game for a long time, run these camps just purely for girls to get participation numbers and to get girls playing. So I've been surprised that we haven't been able to have all female comps in Toowoomba, given what I've seen, at least at our club, with participation numbers. So hopefully, in the next couple of years, we can certainly have that. We used to have an under-18s competition where we used to involve some of our high schools in that competition, and that was great. We used to have a Colts and a Phillies competition on Friday night, and that was really good. And it was sad to see those competitions dissolve because it provided a natural pathway from your juniors into under-18s into your senior football.
Okay. The third match on the weekend is West Wanderers up against Hawks, Lady Hawks. Would either of you venture a comment about this match?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I suppose once again, like I said, with teams being able to take points off whoever this year, it just comes down to sometimes just who wants it more or who gets that little bit of luck on the weekend. I watched both the Wanderers and Hawks play the Rockville ladies over the last few weeks as well, and they've put it to our girls. I think even our girls lost to Wanderers last time, so it's close. Be a hard one to pick. I'll go Wanderers.
All right. Let's have a look now at the FQPL and the Southwest Queensland Thunder. Now, it's a ding-dong battle in this competition for top place. There's one promotion spot. The Thunder are currently in the box seat, but this weekend they're taking on second-placed Logan Lightning. Logan are a team that have always the bridesmaid, never the bride. They've promised so much over the years. They've risen up through the ranks, and now that they're at that final hurdle, they just can't seem to jump it. This year, possibly, but standing in their way is the Southwest Queensland Thunder. Gentlemen, how do you see this match going?
Yeah, I can't see the Thunder losing it, to be honest. I think they had a bit of a wobble there a couple of weeks ago when they played Western Pride, and they obviously were bitterly disappointed with that result, but I think they've regained the initiative and certainly got some strong momentum with some really good positive results the last couple of weeks. So, I don't think they'll drop points this week. I think they'll take all three, and I can't see them not losing it, to be honest. I think they'll get promoted this year, which full credit to them. They've done really well.
Ramiz, have you watched them as well?
Yeah, and I think the most scary thing playing against Thunder is they seem to have a lot of goals in them. Almost every match they're scoring 3, 4, 5 goals a game. So, I think that's why I think they'll get over this time as well.
Of course, they bounced back to form with a 4-1 win over South United last weekend. So, I don't know. I might even try and get to this game on the weekend. I see magic in the air for it. All right, let's have a look at the women's Thunder team. Now, after having that massive win over Capalaba, Chris was talking the team up last week, and they could do it again against Mitchelton, and they went down 4-0. Guys, did you take in any of the highlights or see the match?
Yeah, I think the the ladies would probably be bitterly disappointed with, I guess, the high highs of beating Capalaba and then obviously, getting done 4-0. So, and I think there was an injury there to Ebony Kidd, one of their key players there. I think she'd done an ACL, I think the report was. So, I think they would probably be bitterly disappointed with how that turned out, knowing that they, what they're capable of. They've shown the competition of what they can do. To not sort of back it up, I think they'd be really, really disappointed.
That result on the weekend puts them now 5 points away from 9th place. They're only above Moreton Bay United, who have 0 points on the board at the moment. So, but it's a new weekend, and let's see who they're playing. They are taking on Football Queensland QAS. So this is a match that QAS are only in 8th place. So it will be a match that they would target as one that they can get points from.
I think they can. I think it would just be more so showing probably a bit more consistency. There's been many games this year of theirs that they're leading 1-0 at halftime or 0-0. They're well in it, and then by the time full time comes around, a few scrappy errors and the game sort of got away on them, 3, 4, 5 goals. So I think it's more so just trying to put as much of that 90 minutes together as possible to scrape away another good result.
All right. Gentlemen, we might leave it there. Thank you so much for your participation this week. But before we go, I might just ask you, from all the matches that are being played this weekend, is there one sure thing that, I don't know, if the people out there were betting or having a flutter that they should put their hard-earned on?
I would probably say if you're interested in a flutter, I would probably say Matty Eilers for another clean sheet in the TFL for Willowburn. He's playing well and he's made some great saves over the last couple of weeks. So I'd back him as a winner for sure.
Ramiz?
I'll go 3+ goals for Thunder this weekend.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that's our show for this week. Thank you for tuning in. This is now our number one show. The Southwest Queensland show in its first week overtook the Gold Coast as our number one show. So really appreciate it. That's why we're back. So hopefully we'll have these two back in future weeks as well. Gerard Alchin, president of Willowburn Football Club, and Ramiz Hadzic, coach of Rockville Rovers. I've got to get used to that. It's on today, gents. We'll see you in the near future. This is the Look Finance SEQFC Preview Show with thanks to Vilic Law. See you next time.
Thanks very much.